Guys of Reddit, what is your most embarrassing random boner story? Camera passed me in class while I had a random boner in HS. Guess who was on the school news intro rocking a boner every morning for months? I was in high school sitting on the bus and had a chick I had a crush on. She was standing, so I cracked a joke like, "Your legs seem tired. I got a seat for you." Told her she could sit on my lap and she took the offer. Somewhere between her contemplation and her sitting, my soldier took to salute her company and well, she introduced herself to the soldier. I was in algebra in high school with my crush. I remember her wearing a nice blue shirt that day before three things happened to me. I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't particularly good at math. I had a random half chub going on, maybe caused by said crush. I got called up to the board to solve a problem. The chub wouldn't have been an issue had I continued to sit down. But the sudden motion and shifting of my whole body caused my second brain to go from 50% to 100% in the time it took me to get up to the board. So here I am facing the wall with a raging boner that I know my teacher can see, holding a marker and staring at a math problem I didn't know how to solve. Bless my teacher's heart for walking behind me and talking me through the problem. Util Junior, calm down, and I could go back to my desk defeated and embarrassed. I was swimming in a pool with some friends, one of whom I had a crush on. I usually have a GoPro with me to document possible shenanigans. All of them decided it would be fun to try to get the GoPro from me, so naturally I hide it in the pocket of my swim trunks. Now, I've had a boner the entire time this is happening, so putting it in my pocket wasn't the best idea. My crush found out where the camera was and reached into my pocket. She did not grab the camera. I pulled myself away and hoped she couldn't tell the difference between a penis and a GoPro. I used to get them riding the electric carts back inside at my job, Walmart. They weren't raging, but they did exist. I don't get them anymore because the only thing I feel working for Walmart is depression and hatred for people. I would nap in the car on the way to school. Every time I would wake up with a raging morning wood that usually went away. This time it didn't. I got out of my car and my mom said, "There's a pen getting ready to burst through your pocket, you should." In that exact moment, I saw it in my mom's face. Her eyes showed what happened. She just pointed out my boner to me. She slowly turned her head forward without saying anything. I shut the door. She drove off. I wept. So I was doing an induction for my new graduate job, along with around 25 other graduates. It was classroom style and they were making us do lame ice-breaking team building exercises. There was one very attractive Italian dude who had been eyeing me up the whole time. We were all split into two smaller groups for a game called the Human Knot, where everyone stands in a circle and holds hands with a person in front and on their left. Then without letting go, we all have to untangle ourselves. So, cute Italian dude and I were in the same group. Eventually our circle turns into a huge mess and he and I are squished up against each other, face to face. It was at that moment I felt something very hard poking me just below my stomach, from his crotch region. He was a bit taller than me, obviously being squished up against him. I wasn't going to look down, so I wanted to think it was his belt. Later on that day, I resolved to check if he was actually wearing a belt. He wasn't. I was 15 and at our school we had a co-ed wrestling team, and because I was only 90 pounds soaking wet, I always had to wrestle with the girls on the team. One girl I had a crush on and she was a grade older, so I already assumed out of my league. Needless to say, we were wrestling and as she moved her arm across she hit my boner with her hand and forearm as she moved her arm. I was horrified and tried to play it off. She was always nicer to me after that and even hung around with me after practice before we got picked up. But I was way too embarrassed to ask her out or anything. But still, that was embarrassing, but I wouldn't change it. Not me, I'm female. But I was in a figure drawing class where our male model was nude and kept getting them. It was a 2-hour and 45-minute class. Freshman year in college, I was with some friends drinking in a dorm room. A female RA opens the door to bust us and one of my friends takes off running down the hallway. The rest of us are caught red-handed and got in trouble. The next day the kid who ran had to meet with the hall director. When asked why he ran, he said that the female RA was hot and he got a boner, felt really embarrassed, and ran. The hall director felt awkward enough due to the story that he just let the kid go without him getting in trouble. I used to take the bus to my internship office. The travel time was more than an hour, so I used to sleep, and when we used to reach the office boner, funny part is that as soon as I saw the logo of the company, the boner used to vanish like wake up boner, walk awkwardly for 5 minutes, see logo, walk normally. I had a huge crush on this chick beside me in high school my freshman year. Out of nowhere I popped a boner, and wouldn't you know it, my teacher said, "Okay, I just finished grading your test and I am going to call you up one by one to see your test scores," and I'll be damned, I was the second. Thankfully I was in the first row, but I still had a rock hard dick, so as I got up, I acted like there was something on my shoe I was trying to get off, and made to her desk. I then leaned on her desk and said, "Oh okay," and then as I walked back I acted like there was still something on my shoe and then sat down. On the first date with my now wife, we went to Griffith Observatory in LA. They have a lot of cool CNC astronomy stuff on the inside. Somewhere in the main area with all of the cool equipment was a flat screen looped up to a thermal imaging camera. I got my date's attention so we could stand in front of it. When I stepped into frame, there was a massive red spot on my whole groin area and a clear outline of my erection. I jumped out of the camera's view as soon as I noticed, but not before my date. The people behind me, and possibly some children, saw it. Happened on my first official date. We're about to get up from our table at the restaurant and old Johnny decides to come out of nowhere. Told her I had to reply to an important work email, even though I was 15 and she knew I didn't have a job, nor was I in the process of applying to one. It was my sophomore year in high school. Me and a classmate girl were going to do a presentation on plants for our biology class. The teacher gave us a couple minutes to reflect on what we were going to do. He let us move around the class and sit across from each other on a table. Me and her were sitting across and she puts her legs on top of mine. She was short. Kind of imagine someone putting their feet on a table while sitting. This was during the first days of May, so it was warm and everyone had summer clothing. We were both wearing shorts and she had sandals on too, so I was feeling her bare skin. I didn't necessarily have a crush on her, but I thought she was kind of hot. As she starts moving her feet around my legs, not in a sexual way, more like playing around but not intentionally trying to be sexual, and then it happens. Thank God she didn't feel it because it was there and her feet were dangerously close to my crotch. The teacher called us to present, but I asked for another 3 minutes saying we weren't ready, for obvious reasons. I did get rid of it before I presented. I wanted to tell her, but I feel she might think it's creepy, which it probably is. MCRD San Diego, in the recruit separation platoon, being sent home for medical reasons. I was 19 at the time and was sleeping in my rack surrounded by about 40 other guys, all asleep except the fire watch. We all woke up to the usual screaming of the DI and I had a nice case of morning wood. First time it happened while I was there. I sat up and proceeded to immediately nut in my shorts. These were thin, cheap fabric shorts reminiscent of 70s basketball shorts. While everyone else hit the line, I had to quickly change, and my rack mate stated the reason I wasn't on the line was sir. Recruit Fangabor was too excited to hear your voice and needed to change, sir. I've told this story before. I was in a job interview with my current boss and 3 other people. I was doing a board test when I got the most random boner ever. My boss realized, and all I said was that was a hard one. I meant the test. That's what I was trying to say, and she couldn't keep a straight face after that. Board test. I work as a teacher, and a board test is when you teach a class based on a random topic the interviewers give you, so they evaluate your teaching skills. Pizza delivery. You know how awkward it is to walk up to a house holding pizza and an erection? It's bad. Made it worse when the girl asked if it came with the food. Whilst I've had my fair share of embarrassing boners, the worst boner debacle I've ever seen happened to a kid from my school on the bus. Basically, he and his friend were standing on a cramped bus, and then the bus jolted and the kid's erect penis slammed hard into his friend's behind, and right at that moment the boner boy let out an accidental suggestive moan. The pandemonium that followed was majestic. The friend shouted that this guy had a boner and all the kids from my school began to chant boner. He had the most mortified expression on his face. It was funny though.